Welcome back to what potentially could be Team Freedom getting a victory over B-Step. But B-Step do have one win in this series, so now we can see if they tie it up once again. We're going to switch things up this time. We already know the battleground, but we are in contention over who picked it.
Yeah, because, you know, it is Warhead Junction. Yeah. So it goes, who is going to pick this next map? Like, we know it to be rare in the North American scene. My thought is that it's B-Step because they're at a moment where their backs are against the wall and they're just kind of like, screw it. These guys don't feel comfortable on this map, so we'll take them there.
Team Freedom beat Gale Force Esports on Warhead Junction, but they didn't pick it. I still think it's Team Freedom. Let's see who picked it. Ah, sweet victory is mine.
Oh, that was good. That was good. All right, you win. I tip my fedora. You win this battle.
Well, you did get me earlier, so I think it's only fair.
Yeah, justice.
Sweet,
like
sweet
Tyrael.
justice. Just like Tyrael. It's one of my favorites.
I know, that and the BW. I don't know. I can respect your appreciation for Tyrael, not so much on the Brightwing.
Hey, you know what? I'm just not a bandwagoner. I've loved Brightwing from the very beginning.
You're not wrong. At least you're original. Give you that. You know, dedicated.
I stick with my team no matter how good or bad they're doing in the meta. Her time will come once again.
I don't think I have that. Like, Lucio's probably my closest thing. But I feel like Lucio could be nerfed enough, long enough that I'm just like, I'm over it. You know, I don't have
You're
that
a slave
attachment.
to the meta.
I am a meta slave, dude.
Warhead Junction, let's break it down. Because we've had one of these in part 1. It was picked by Gale Force.
Yeah.
Freedom won with a weird rule swap. That was Zugrug playing Tassadar because their main warrior was Dahaka and Zugrug did not play him at the time.
Yeah, that's
A little bit of a backstory.
Tassadar being hovered. Globals are the focus. Zagara is the thing here, even. With, again, the distance between the lanes. But more importantly, from the forts and the keeps, she really can be a threat in the global world. So much so, I would just ban Zeratul and pick all the globals. Just be like, nope, not after that last game. Insomnia gets off a comfort, and then just, you know, go from there. We'll find out. Freedom, I think, needs to pick Zeratul in one of their rotations. I really do think that the threat that they had in that last game onto, again, you know, the fault. I talked about it enough in the draft. I don't need to really beat a dead horse on that one. But Insomnia had an insane performance on it. He played the hero well.
He did play him
along
very
with
well.
being really good in their draft.
Also, the only other battleground that has 2 bosses. Not to the same effect as Cursed, but something to keep in mind. Because Warhead Junction, I mean, people so rarely see it in competitive play. And B-Step are going to use all their time now that they've been brought to this strange battleground. A battle of nukes, swarm hosts.
Swarm hosts?
Yeah.
That's a name for something.
The swarm hosts are the bosses.
Is that really their name?
Well, they're based on the swarm host unit of StarCraft.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the ones that like burrow and then just shoot.
I'll be
the
honest,
swarm.
I actually don't know what that unit is, but
You see what I have to deal with?
Yeah. How dare I?
Not know StarCraft.
Yeah. Ugh, man, that weird game that was popular forever ago, and this is Heroes of the Storm. I'm sorry.
Danger.
That's more
Will
of a,
Robinson.
That's more of a stab on just I mainly don't actually have those feelings towards StarCraft, but you guys got to remember, if you look at everybody who's involved in Heroes of the Storm, I'm legitimately like the only no StarCraft background at all. So everybody's like, oh yeah, back in StarCraft, and I'll be like, and we're talking about Heroes of the Storm today, so it's a nice meme. I don't even know if it's nice, but it is a dread meme at this point. Malv and Dahaka were removed or picked up here by Freedom. Not going to have the Zeratul because B-Step first picked it, conveniently. So what else happens here? Falstad now is a must if you're B-Step. Like, honestly, like a Falstad Tyrael, just call it a day. It's so much boss control. Just worry about using the global, using Zeratul as a pseudo for side soak, and use Tyrael for team fighting and just winning bosses. And you're safe. You've got a little bit of everything you could hope for on this map. It doesn't make your comp maybe overly synergistic, and I want to say that it's going to be a world-class composition, but when you're taking to somewhere you don't know, you take what are the win conditions and how do I make sure I have those, and then worry about all the other problems.
There is still a Vikings worry.
Give me the Tyrael.
Falstad.
I swear. Or an Abathur. Zara Abbey? Ooh. So that's a must-pick Arthas on the side of Freedom, or they ban it here. You don't give up Abathur Arthas. Double
That
Arthas.
is, I mean, Freedom understand that because they have run it themselves. But there are a lot of scary Abathur clone targets. But you are limited to who's going to be the warrior and who would be a good clone target there. Zeratul still a fine one. You see double Zeratul cause some hurt.
There's the Arthas. Man, this game feels so much better when things start to make sense. My brain and all of week 1 was just so like, and this makes sense. No, I know where this is headed, and just the last second gave us the old roundabout.
Final control over Globals, looking at an ETC ban.
But they forgot about the Zagara. She is a thing.
That's true.
It's actually a thing on only few maps. She is a global I would consider now.
Even versus Zeratul Falstad?
I mean, I don't look at it like it's going to change the world, but if you really think that we have to win through macro, she's still there. You know, not worth the ban on ETC worthy, I guess is what I'm trying to say, unless you're removing ETC for the Mosh, not for the global. Because even Brightwing can be a global, you know, just maybe not necessarily the best.
She's still up.
If anybody,
There's APM.
If anybody plays Brightwing this game, it would be Freedom and a double support.
I think you are not seeing her value.
I feel like you aren't respecting her as the strong, independent fairy dragon she was born to be,
How
who
dare
doesn't
you?
need no secondary support.
I feel like I have to defend her.
Mm-hmm. I mean, when I played, she was one of my go-to played. You know, she had a time and a place. Just sadly, none of those things are anywhere near this area.
Warhead Junction is not the place.
No.
Part 2 of Phase 1, not the time.
No, 2017, not the time here for Brightwing.
Hey, the year is young.
It is. It is. She might have time.
Who's it going to be? B-Step, Leoric, Karzim.
Interesting to see the Leoric as a solo warrior. A throwaway onto who they can sacrifice in the early game if things really do go poorly. Freedom with the double warrior. I really would vote against a double support in this type of situation, especially when looking at B-Step's composition. Keep things in the norm. Somebody who can do well into Zeratul and not be overly a threat. Like, my first thought is like Li Ming, but
Yeah.
she gets bodied. With Greymane already picked up, Tychus, I think, is going to be the safest into that backline and the solo Leoric. I would really like a Tychus, actually. Now thinking of solo Leo, just like, and he moves up.
Yeah, that's what I was
and
thinking.
the bigger they are, and all right, he's out. He's gone.
That's
and
what I was thinking as well.
Neo still coding for Zeratul all-ins with Abathur, double Zeras. They're going to all-in somebody, so both of you have to be able to play with your own. Because they are going to dive, and with the double Abathur, I want Eyes in the Dark on Greymane.
What about Triple Warrior?
Or you could do that. I mean, oh man. Actually, I lied. I would not do that. That's scary. What? Oh man. My brain just broke a little. I'm figuring it out. Hold on.
Okay.
Sometimes I do that out of legitimately just not understanding and having to think because I'm bad at that, apparently.
It's not always tilt, is what he's trying to
Yes,
say.
what I'm trying to say is it's not always frustration. It's literally I'm trying to give you an honest opinion out of a huge mix with the triple warrior here. Into Leoric, one of the best double warriors you can have post 20. Karzim's pretty good in that department. Falstad's decent, but Gus,
Giant Killer?
Gus on melees can go into Giant Killer. Zeratul is the weakest out of everybody in this composition, but the biggest thing that makes me actually hate Triple Warrior into the composition of B-Step, you see the Zeratul and you go, nice, nobody's going to die. But then you see the Abathur and the Falstead, and you go, nice. Nobody's going to be able to deal with the pressure that they're going to apply onto the map. Because again, anytime you have the heavy skirmishers, any of the melees, they always struggle in wave clear compared to any backline composition.
Well, what are the benefits for Team Freedom? Obviously, they are very tanky for team fights, but are they going to get team fights on Warhead Junction?
Not the way they want. Really, outside of, like, in most cases, I expect Leo to be the only person dead in this entire game. Most of the time, especially when you have Gust and you have Void, you can pretty much just expect if things really did look good for the first time more than a Leoric, one of those was used to save people. So with that in mind, then no, it's unlikely they get those. So then you have to worry about the macro. Zeratul, Falstead, Abathur, way too much pressure for just a Dahaka to deal with on his own. So somebody has to have proper rotations outward.
And rotations on Warhead Junction are extremely tricky because it is the largest battleground in our pool. But we felt this way about Team Freedom's draft in the last game. They were able to pull it out. We'll see if Team Freedom can close it out here or if we're going to game number 5 as we check out the scenery of Warhead Junction. It's kind of scenic.
I feel like that's where the National Geographic voice should come over and be like,
Here we see B-Step and their natural habitat.
Observe
The Warhead Junction.
the Abathur
As they-
approaches his lane.
The mythical Zeratul riding the traditional...
what do you just call it, a cloud at that point?
Just the mystic cloud across the savannah.
Possibly. The Nimbus Cloud, right there.
Yeah.
Are they doing that because they're up against old members of Cloud9?
Are you trying to meme those guys on Twitter at this point?
A little bit, yeah.
All right. Just wanted to make sure. They're probably just gonzo.
That's the plan. Happy Friday.
All right, so 5-man collapse for Freedom. Onto a turret once more. This doesn't benefit him the same way it did in the last game. Falstead flew, now it does. Insomnia there gets the drag all inning. Calf cost him his life. A turret, man, that could not have gotten worse. My goodness, they lose a turret, they lose a hero, and Falstead committed to the flight rotation down to help things, and they still lost that much. So it was just like one of those situations where typically if Falstead goes, nah, it's fine, and you just wait it out. But then he committed and then still losing Leoric. Gosh, that's already almost a half-level experience lost.
It feels like Freedom has this really good understanding of like, hey, we have compositions where we need to make sure we're setting things up right from the start at the early game, because they did the exact same thing on Shrines, was it? Or even last game. That or they feel like they can bait B-Step to make those kind of decisions, like even having iDream fly down.
They may have. You know, it could have been a bit more of an attempt of bait, but just so much was gained from it. Abathur did stop a lot of the advantage early on. Zogrug is going to be fine.
Nice. Perfect storm stack.
Worth. Anytime you can stack that up. Calf has got the hat. He has got the Drain Hope. And that is what Caffeine's going to be doing a lot this game. So I really think the hat targets are actually going to swap as this game moves on. Early on, it will be Zeratul, and then it will be cloning on top of the Zeratul and diving the backline, and then late game hats are actually better on Leoric. Spectral Leech with an Abathur hat pretty much means that King Caffeine will be your new god if you know, because he's just insane, his damage output.
Yeah, especially if Adrenal Overload was a choice at 4.
That actually gives me nightmares. Seriously, with the new auto attack buffs that he's been getting, please do not. He did it. Oh my. He's going to ruin.
This is awesome.
Oh, if he can make it there. He's still a level behind, 310. Stun goes out on the APM.
Ooh, Zugrug almost got this. Here comes Dahaka. Zugrug is getting fairly low, but Karazim's already going to get taken out. So will McIntyre. Maybe not. He has a blink. Can they catch him?
They have to land it. Oh, man. Dansky clutching it out with the knock up there. Still a level advantage for Team Freedom here. The longer the better is the name of the game for B-Step right now with their draft.
And don't forget, Freedom also got the other Warhead, and they're very, very close to getting this one. Dansky picks it up. So both warheads in the first phase controlled by Team Freedom, as well as this advantage.
It falls a bit to the Abathur effect, right? Is like we know that B-Step will have a weaker early game. Anytime you have Abathur, you're way more focused onto the late game. It's just stopping, you know, any major losses like a full fort or anything very early on. So I would say this is still a win on the side of Freedom from what they managed to get. 3 whole kills, 2 warheads, 2 front walls, and, you know, sitting a half-level experience. That's about ideal. If you were to project, you know, a strategy for this map, I think that's a very, you know, better than what you would project. Is like, what can we reasonably expect here? It's at most a half-level advantage. So they're doing things right very early on here on Warhead.
There is no cleanse available to Team Freedom because they have chosen Mule. Asmus? Oh, he's gonna go down. There's some roots.
Do they have it? Hydrant barrel rolls out.
Now Zugrug is being chased down too from King Caffeine and McIntyre, so he'll make it out.
Abathur's slugging it out with the Haka there in the, that's, you know, that is a,
Zerg matchup of legend.
that actually is kind of the bomb.
It's even sort of a difference
Although-
of 2 different kinds of Zerg too. You've got the
Yeah.
Primal Zerg.
I was going to be honest. You said they were both Zerg, and my first thought was like, one of those is not like the other. So
No.
I'm glad you broke that down, because I genuinely, my first thought was like, wait a minute, both of those are Zerg? I figured Abathur's Zerg, but then for a non-StarCraft nerd, I was just like, and Dahaka's just a character in the game. That's not Zerg, because like they kind of speak a little bit the same, but
Yeah, it's because Dahaka's the Primal Zerg.
is that
so
first or after?
I actually don't know which came first, but the idea is it's like if you have one that's been created, which Abathur was by the Overmind, or ones that are just found in the wild. And so Kerrigan had to go find the ones in the wild to turn back into a Zerg. Spoiler alert if you haven't played Heart of the Swarm, but if you haven't, you're missing out. And that's where she finds Dahaka too.
I was about to ask you very off-topic StarCraft questions. Honestly, was the only thing that came to my mind so far.
That's honestly the only lore I can give you, really. I don't know
right.
Warcraft very much. I'm sorry, I'm just not Calaris level with the lore.
I promise you, it makes me have a lot more respect for you as a human being, as you probably know, my love for lore and Calaris's.
It is just known far and wide across the land.
Dread's lore is, I think mediocre would be giving me a lot more credit than I deserve.
Yeah, I wouldn't say mediocre, but maybe I would as your co-caster trying to give you some nice cred.
Yeah, some street cred for all the lore fans out there. Without 10, what is B-Step gonna manage to get? They got one of the channels of these warheads.
One's pretty good. Leork's still duking it out over top. Zugrug's gonna use one.
Gives
Hello.
him the old drive-by down here and just goes, hey, yeah, we're gonna use this here.
Dwarf tosses out 2. Greyman's picking up another one. Zugrug has to burn Avatar just to stay alive.
That was win for B-Step.
Top's still going.
Calf should win this with Abathur. It's just trying to worry about the positioning of his burrow, like that. So now that that's down, the next trade is almost even like when it comes to the W cooldown to the E of a new Barak. So it's more that Calf has to position himself halfway between where he wants to retreat with the start of his channel, but the second half to actually hit and get full value.
Another thing to consider is when Brush Talk's off cooldown, but same with Fly for a false tattoo now that it's heroic. Stainsky is going to burrow into a trap.
He's going to walk away unscathed. Caffeine even got interrupted there with a nuke channel. I don't know if you saw that, but he started it. You're going to start the boss here. Boss has been started for Freedom onto the bottom half of the map. Be picked up soon. If a Nubarak can sniff this out, he might be able to delay. Maybe without Falstead not being there. He's going to realize it's too late.
Haka's there too.
Oh, they're going.
Psalm's moving in.
Time's
Here's
up.
Stainsky too. Let's do this.
Let's do it.
Okay, so nuke, avoid precision.
I've seen this
This
before.
is 2 nukes.
I've seen this before.
It's BlizzCon all over again. Burrow, Dansky burrows onto the point. A Nubarak's down. There goes Zeratul 2. It's a 1-for-1. A Twilight Dream collusion rips through the health bars of B-Step.
Oh man, Nasmus cleaning up over there. Collusion. King Caffeine K1 Pro. The channel. Freedom comes out on top. They've done it, mates. They broke the dang game. I'm just so glad when you see a void prison with 2 nukes
nukes
on top.
oh, no.
I was like, BlizzCon, I've seen this. This exact moment happened so many times in my head. My gosh. I've never had a moment in a game happen where I instantly thought of a different game so fast in my life.
It's deja vu right here in HGC. My goodness. They did cap it, though.
They did. Freedom has a boss on bottom, keep front wall right now.
Yeah.
They have 3 nukes after that fight. That's a guesstimation. Don't know for sure. I guess actually we have that. So they only have 1 of the nukes currently. But that is half of keep on bottom, half a keep on top once that's channeled if they use the nuke on the top. So, I mean, for considering the fact that this game is just broken past 10 and you're threatening 2 keeps and even getting damage output onto it, that's awesome. Everything's working out.
Also, Greymane took Wizened Duelist, so we'll have to check how many stacks he has when we get back, but that is not a common talent, and especially not versus, like, you'd maybe see it versus Vikings, but I didn't really see where the point would be here, except maybe that he feels like he can stay alive really well because of the triple warrior. Yeah,
the only time we see Wizened Duelist outside of easy stacking targets or with Ethereal on your team ever was on only Battlefield of Eternity. I would say like 1 or 2 Chinese teams, I think, risked it when they made Greymane kind of rise to the top of the meta. Other than that, yeah, I've almost never seen it. It's always with Ethereal or it's always into, like, TLV. Huh.
Thanks for sticking with us, guys. Zugrug has disconnected from comms, so we're just waiting to make sure that he can get back to there. Obviously, maybe things got a little crazy in comms.
Yeah.
Maybe a cord was unplugged or something to that effect.
He's like, I got the void. And he's like, there's 2 nukes. What do we do? Gosh, yeah, it's just, man, that was such a quick moment where I'm just so glad that I wasn't the only one. That was just like... It's
You're like,
happening.
I've seen this before, and I was like, me too. What's going to happen?
I just had, like, my own commentary rolling through my head. Like, yeah, I'll be honest, that's all I could think of. I was like, oh, it's perfectly timed. And then you, like, come in and you're like, ah.
And you were like, whose nukes are those?
Embarrassing moments, man. I get up and I speak what comes to my mind. Sometimes that reflects great. Other times it reflects pretty poorly.
Yeah, that was one of the best moments. I think probably the best moment of Grand Finals. Just like so hype, so fun. Anyway, guys, thanks for hanging out with us. We are going to take a quick break while we let Zugrug figure things out. We'll see you when we come back.
Sombra, it's on you now.
I'm all over it.
See the full animated short at playoverwatch.com.
I once ruled Ashul Nerub. Then came a war I could not win. I was forced into servitude. But here, in this strange place, no one commands my power. I will conquer the Nexus. Those who oppose me shall embrace the web of death. I am a Nubarak. I ruled once before. I shall rule again.
I was once a far strider. I swore an oath to defend Silvermoon and its people to my dying breath. It was not enough. My homeland still burned. But those days are long past. And history will not repeat itself. I am Sylvanas Windrunner, Queen of the Forsaken, And if you will not serve me in this life, then you will do so in the next.
It's not easy being queen. So many subjects to keep in line. So many scores to settle. I am the Swarm. And vengeance has never looked this good.
Welcome back to HGC NA. We are still waiting on the AOK that comms are ready to go. We are in the middle of Warhead Junction, game 4 in this best of 5 between B-Step and Team Freedom. So far, things looking really good for Team Freedom, and it's absolutely necessary. We've talked about implications of this match. For B-Step, there's a little bit of padding if they start to lose matches, but they're still within Crucible range, and Team Freedom even more so.
I think it is when looking at the history of, B-Step and how many, their record, they are okay to lose some.
Yes.
But with Freedom being a team, if they win this game, being able to beat them. And every other team other than these two and maybe Superstars feel very like they have not gone anywhere after part 1 to part 2. It means that if they lose here, for me, after today, B-Step would be my #1 prospect for being one of the 2 teams going into the Crucible.
Yeah, especially since they lost to Naventic too. So if you take out, okay, we probably aren't going to be able to beat Tempo Storm, maybe not even Gale Force. You have to look at where you can get those victories. Guys, in case you missed it, by the way, Heroes of the Storm 2.0 is launching on Tuesday, and we're going to have a super fun live stream lined up. It's April 25th. That is at Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Gerard, there's going to be so much action happening.
There will be. And, we even have a show match between Fnatic and Dignitas on the new map, Hanamura, where we'll have some crazy action-packed best of 5. Me and Caldar will be casting, so tune in. It'll be a good time. It's always nice to get to, learn with the rest of the community on something. That's probably one of my favorite things to do from an analytical side is like, where everybody knows nothing and everybody's trying to figure out the fastest well, I heard about this timer, what if you do this strategy? That's where it's fun. And show matches are the best place to start it.
Yeah, and that Battleground objective is so unique, so I'm really excited to see how those teams approach it. And I'm excited to see how B-Step approaches being down so much in this game. Let's get back to the action on Warhead Junction and see if they can make the miracle come back.
All right, so just to take us a minute back, where we were when we left.
If you missed it, by the way.
There was a boss on the side of Freedom. They captured on bottom. They invade the boss up on top. There's a void. There's a couple crazy nukes. And here we are where Freedom wipes 4 members of B-Step. They get the top boss. They've got 1 warhead still going, and the pressure of bottom boss with 13 talent here. The most of this game has felt reasonably in control for Freedom. Like almost every other game here, minus the one they lost, really.
Yeah, they got some early picks that enabled them to get heroics first. They've had full control over the nukes, as we see as one drops down here top. And with the Mule pickup too, they haven't had too much pressure even on their structures, but that still buys some more time for Team Freedom to continue to try to win the structure war. No keeps down yet. The bottom boss did put some damage down. Abathur did not get Mule there too. He instead decided to get Needle Spine. This is sort of a K1 Pro Classic build that we have, full hat build, and we talked a little bit about how that is going to enable Leoric in the later game, but there's a long way to go until B-Step can get to that point.
And with that Abathur hat build, we talked about, just that, man, what the late game might mean for B-Step in this draft. Illusion's caught out. He does have Ice Block. There it is. K1 Pro's clone taking too much damage. Twilight Dream is going to be used. Lands onto APM. Already 1 person falling. APM gets go for the throated with nowhere to run, though, other than using that totem as a dash out. He's going to go down.
Such a good Twilight Dream to turn things around. When Collusion knew he was going to go down, McIntyre jumps to the Mercenaries in the bottom lane. Still trying to run. Dansky's trying to catch up.
Yeah,
Burrow's in front of him.
Yeah, there he goes, the teleport. Oh, he actually got hit by the 4.
Zugrug was there too.
There.
Man, this chase too, like Dahaka's still picking up The nukes are there. McIntyre's juking and jiving all over the place. It takes 3 warriors to kill 1 Zeratul, but worth.
Yeah, the amount of time and the free clear here by iDream up on top.
Yeah, maybe if that run had allowed B-Step to steal the nukes, but Team Freedom even got both of those too.
Do you think it's more worth if you spell with an F or a TH?
Absolutely F, without a doubt, 100%.
Like it's W-U-R-F, or you have like actual worth, right?
Worth.
Worth is like, nailed it.
Worth
is like, I'm trying to justify it to myself. The flank, there's the entomb, the double flight even.
So double false studs in the back. Can they take out Nasmus? Can they reset his stacks? Clone already taken out of this fight. This could be the moment for Team Freedom.
They moved up. Zugrug did not get a Storm Bolt, as we see it thrown out there to Peel. So Freedom is just going to walk away with a keep here. But again, that's a lot. They're going to keep trying to force this. They have Void.
Max here too. Nasmus goes down. That is the nuke dropped. But Zeratul, Falstad is the one who falls, so
He's
it's a
dead.
1-for-1 in the fight so far. King Caffeine, Wraith walks out.
Stormbolt wasn't up for Zugrug? I don't know. That's a pretty free hit once Wraithwalk drops right after. I just thought they would throw it out at least to try and, you know, maybe get that kill after the Wraithwalk. But they're going to be able to survive. Really interesting fight. Not only approach for B-Step off the double Falstad with a double flight, but then, you know, seeing that gust into Void attempt in that pick at the very end.
Does it feel to you like, hold on to that? Because this is going to be a perfect counter to catching that drag. Nice win there for Team Freedom. Does it feel to you like maybe it's panicked?
I'm at the point where I feel like most of the members of B-Step are like past panic, but maybe, you know, like they are experienced players, and don't get me wrong, they feel, you know, the same emotions everybody else does while playing this game. But I also feel like at this point, unless they feel like, you know, their career's slipping away at the same point, they would just be like, it's just another series, it's okay. You know, I don't know. I feel like we were gonna see the panic. It would have been in Game 4 where everything's on the line halfway through. It would have been after the first loss is where we would have seen B-Step crumble a bit more. I mean, don't get me wrong, they obviously haven't been dominant, but it hasn't been nearly as weird as that last double initiation attempt.
This is the best nuke attempt B-Step are going to have for a while. Having finally 16 talent tier, the same talent tier. Entomb does not catch anybody.
Oh, this should be able to get Nasmus though. There's a Void. Disengage into it. Nuke's going to be thrown down by Insomnia, zoning the area. The drag and the W means that is going to be a kill picked off for Freedom. Falsa is going to try and start that channel. No, Abathur will be able to start the channel on the top warhead, but top left by B-Step is going to be started. Dansky's there with the deny.
There's a mercenary camp in the bottom lane. The boss has started, so this whole entire time while Team Freedom are zoning, oh, Nasmus has to be very careful. He gets gusted back in. That's a kill. A nice kill for B-Step to continue this fight. They're dropping a nuke. All of Team Freedom trying to run out of it in time. It zones them away.
They get the W. There's going to be the Entomb. Everybody's still low, though.
The boss.
Looks like she's going to be leashed, sitting at 50%, ticking upward. Nobody on B-Step, auto-attacking. And the pressure of the camp on catapults on bottom plus the camp, McIntyre is going to be able to clear those out. This is, man. In the end, we see B-Step actually get the, you know, warhead. They have 2-to-1 when it comes to warheads. Can they make anything happen with it?
Yeah, it was 3-to-1, but the one was dropped to zone, and Freedom dropped a zoning one too. So both teams willing to chuck out these nukes, if nothing else, making sure that they don't give them up. You know, Team Freedom has already dropped one to a kill. But having Mule has made Team Freedom structure so durable, impenetrable. B-Step continues to try to nuke them down, but without any nuke and then follow-up push at the same time, they haven't been able to bring them down. Should they do so, should they win a team fight convincingly, then B-Step could rocket ahead of Team Freedom in experience. They just haven't been given the opportunity yet.
We always talked about B-Step and the 20 spike they could have with the Leoric. into the Triple Warrior Spectral Leech with the Adrenal Overload, and probably going to be Hive Mind at 20.
Yeah, this is a build that K1 Pro has played a lot for a long time, and it can top damage charts. In fact, it is topping the damage chart right now, just because you have the extra stab and reduced cooldown for that too. So it's once he gets that at 13, paired with Needle Spine, increasing the damage and range, and then now he's going to be slowing people down. So if B-Step can get on top of whomever is being slowed from that hat, it gets scarier and scarier for Team Freedom, but they have amassed such an advantage.
This is the party.
Of the century?
Obviously not. They didn't stay out very long. Oh, we found it. It's down here. It's a new venue? Nah, it's the one over
It's a
here.
rotating venue.
Yeah, it's the one over here for sure. Definitely agree. The vibe over here, way better. No way. Shut up. I was like, oh my, if he manages to survive this, drops the nuke. At least he didn't give it up.
Yeah, smart play versus giving a nuke over to B-Step. And the entire time, B-Step were trying to take bottom boss, but didn't get enough damage done in time.
Yeah, that's going to be a boss for free now. Over to B-Step, just purely based on the, boss control they have by having a false step. The clone is out, and B-Step didn't continue following up that damage. So that actually is just nothing. It's just going to hang out there. We have only 2 warheads to be concerned about.
There's 20.
How are you? B-Step is up a man. 20 into 20. And not only did they lose the Auric, they lost the warhead.
Falstad was clearing bot.
I mean, it was obviously the minions were a problem. It just feels like that was the one moment, for B-Step having that man up. That is just like, if you're ever going to force it, now's the time. They're going to try now. Nuke is going to be dropped. Any nuke dropped actually just benefits the racing team as long as Leoric doesn't get up. So Collusion, I honestly feel like should be dropping his here, but he's going to wait it out.
They're going on the point. Nuke is down. Twilight Dream, Falstad away. The nuke is going to drop and do so much damage. The Gust is there too. Ice Block for a little bit more time, but APM falls. Only Falstad and Abathur left. Team Freedom grabs the boss. Leoric is there too.
And it's going to march its way down to the core. 96%. It's only an 18-minute boss. Defensive tools available are none. Only Abathur ult in diving a backline. Greymane and Malf are the only ones vulnerable. And Malf has the nuke. So all-inning Malfurion is going to be the go-to if you are a B-Step player right now. They see the clone. They're moving up with it. So just all in. We're trying to rid of it. Nasmus goes up onto K1 Pro. So the clone's going to be removed. Boss is falling low, but again, you have to move on to the backline and kill them if you have any chance of stopping this.
Collusion's dropping the nuke.
Yeah.
It is there. Boss and nuke. The core drops to 80%. Falstad taken out too. This looks like the end for B-Step, at least in this series, as Team Freedom march to victory, taking out B-Step 3-1. It's a complete reverse of the score that B-Step got over Freedom, and that has got to feel so good for Team Freedom.
And so bad on the other side. But yeah, Freedom, 3-1. It's just, they changed a lot today, and I think that's the most important thing to focus on, that what they adjusted here in week 2 was awesome. We have not seen any of that from them ever, to see that kind of adjustment, and it makes me only, again, hopeful, but it's, it hurts a little bit too. It's hard to, give your faith to Freedom after the old bait and switch that we got during part 1, where it's just, a team with amazing performance one week to a mid-tier one with the follow-up week. It's just very hard to be a supporter of them, but today they show they are at least better than, some of the long-standing members of the North American scene.
Yeah, it is going to be hard to gauge Team Freedom for now, at least. They are going to play Navintic on Sunday, so that'll give us a little bit more of an indication too, but Team Freedom so far, it's not like No Tomorrow, where we saw No Tomorrow go up against Tempo Storm, and although it was a 0-3 for No Tomorrow, things looked promising for them, and they are promising for Freedom too, but we'll have to wait and see how Freedom approaches some of these other teams down the line. But a great start for them, especially having lost their first series.
Yeah, it's huge for them. And I think it just leads to more, for me at least, way more likely that B-Step is going to be one of the teams in going to the Crucible now. Just because, again, just struggling into Team Freedom, who compared to like No Tomorrow and Naventic, who look like completely different squads. Tempo and Gale Force, obviously, but they're so high up, kind of ignoring them at this point. So at the lower parts of what we have at the North American scene right now, I just feel like it's likely that they lose enough to those teams. I don't even know if there's enough games left, but I'm pretty sure if B-Step loses to every other team, they will fall into the Crucible.
We have to talk about Warhead Junction, too. We never see this battleground, and Team Freedom now has chosen it. Is this a sort of strategy to try to get other teams to ban it, potentially? That's what I want to know from them.
I mean, it's probably is. I feel like it's one of those things where you can do it enough to where it's not like you are expecting your opponent to ban it, but if they do, you're like, nice. You just, anytime you can draw resources to one-off maps that you're just like above average at best at, you're just like, know that your opponents are going to be taking to your heavier comforts, and then your lesser ones, you're just like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be just another day. So,
yeah, same with hero picks too, right?
Yeah.
Like we saw with Teammate and Medivh at the beginning of part 1. Well, we have a player to congratulate, and that is Insomnia. Hey, buddy, congratulations. You guys just took out B-Step. I know this was a really important victory for you guys. Talk to me about the preparation you had going into this.
Well, first off, thank you very much. It feels good to definitely win again. Basically, what we did is we kind of just scouted all their games. We actually don't scrim them at all. So it was kind of, we didn't really expect what to go into last time we faced them. They played a lot of like Tyrande, Jaina, and we weren't really prepared. I felt like we were really stale on the meta heroes we were picking. So this time around, I think we really sat down and thought about what we wanted to draft. And then we were able to take them to Warhead. So that was kind of fun.
Yeah, tell us more about the Warhead. Did you expect it to be banned? Have you guys been playing it around a little bit, without giving away too much?
Well, it seems like every other team hates Warhead, so we're like, we'll like Warhead, and then maybe like if we're feeling bad at a different map, like that week, we'll always take somebody to Warhead, and then we just always kind of have pocket strategies for Warhead. So I don't know. We all really like the map, so it's fun to take other people on there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's very nice that you guys have that in your pocket.
All right, so you guys, when it comes to hero picks, we're at week number 1. If you watch the broadcast, we called you guys one of the most stubborn teams when it comes to adjusting from part 1 into part 2 and what is kind of the new meta forming around North America. But now, in this week 2 of part 2, you guys look like a very different team. You're drafting way more flexible, way more around the meta. What happened, from week 1 to week 2?
So definitely, like on the off season, when dorms were happening and stuff like that, we felt very strong with our meta, and we felt like other teams just kind of adapted to what we were picking. So we're like, okay, wait up. Everyone knows what Team Freedom is currently doing in scrims. So we're like, we just have to, hit a home run out of left field at this point. So we just kind of totally switched, and everything that everyone else was already studying, we just kind of decided to switch. And, we're going to counter this. You guys can't have this. And we just wanted to come out and do our game instead of get countered all the time. So we just want to play. We just want to be Team Freedom. And, people need to be afraid of us because we're not a bottom 2 team. So we just want to stay strong and do what we're the best at.
As far as your match versus Naventic on Sunday, how are you guys feeling about that? It's such an important one for the standings.
Well, Naventic is obviously, they're our bros when we scrim. So it's going to be a pretty, ruthless match to watch because we don't want to beat them, but we have to beat them. You know what I mean? So they're probably our best friends in the league. So we're going to prepare our best to obviously beat them because we want to be in the best standings that we can. So I think it will be definitely the match of that week of Sunday. So I'm very excited for it.
Awesome. Well, congratulations again, Insomnia. Thank you so much for joining us for the interview. It's always a pleasure to get to talk to you. Shout outs before we let you leave.
Shout outs to everyone who still believes in Team Freedom. We're doing it for you guys. So thank you very much. And our coach, Indie Bear, thank you very much. And thank you so much, you guys. It feels good again. So thank you for believing in us.
Nice words to Team Freedom fans. It's a good day to be a Team Freedom fan.
It is. One of the best, really. That's all you can hope for is your team coming out with the win, and the fact that Freedom was able to get one of their few so far at HGC North America here today. And you could see it on Insomnia's face, man. Dude was stoked, right? It's just nothing feels better than feeling like you put in a large amount of work for an attainable goal and then being able to actually achieve that. It really drives the professional player.
Well, now we need to take a look at the standings for HGC in North America because changes are happening. B-Step, once again, tied with Superstars. They just, like, Superstars loses one, B-Step loses one. It is so, so close. Superstars now 1-1. They're coming for B-Step's spot. Team Freedom stays at third place for now, but like we talked about, their next match is versus Team Naventic, so that is an all-important one, especially when we talk about the Crucible and who ends up in the bottom 2 spots in standings, who has to fight these open division teams who are working so hard to get a chance to get here in the HGC of Phase 2.
And looking at that, I made a comment about B-Step and just where that puts them in the North American scene compared to the rest. I honestly don't know the rest of their schedule, looking at, like, thinking at the top of my head. But at first glance, they've only taken on so far, it was only Freedom.
Freedom and Naventic.
then last it was Naventic, which were on the lower teams and they lost to. So at that point, I don't know. I think it's almost unlikely. I just was doing the math and I was like, I'd actually, even if they lose almost every game, they're still in a position where they would be ahead of some of those lower teams. So maybe that's unfair. I'll do my caster math next time before I look at it. But either way, I do think that B-Step looks significantly weaker, compared to the rest of the North America.
To be fair, though, it's very hard to figure out where the teams are going to be going. If nothing else, then NA is more convoluted. Even in Part 1, you know, Team Freedom took out Gale Force Esports in a series. So it is not over until it's over. Let's check in with tomorrow's schedule and see what awesome Heroes matches you guys at home can look forward to. After HGC Korea, and I gotta say once again, guys, L5 versus Tempest, do not miss this match. We'll have Playing Ducks versus Fnatic. Playing Ducks, another team trying to stay out of Crucible range. Team Expert versus Tricked Esport. That should be a really fun one. Tricked has been showing a lot of awesome growth.
Yeah, they are. They have. They are just amazing, you know. And then for North America, we have B-Step taking on Team 8, but first it is the Gale Force Esports versus No Tomorrow. Completely inverse record there. 7-2 and 2-7. It's, numbers tell the tale there.
I'm pretty pumped for No Tomorrow versus Gale Force. I really want to see consistency for No Tomorrow. They had a standout weekend 1. Can they continue that even versus the Titans of Gale Force Esports? That's my question.
No, I think that's a perfect one. You know, at this point, we all look at Gale Force and go, all right, you're obviously the favorite. So now it's just how they win and then how stable their opponent looks. And, even if that goes at 0-3, if No Tomorrow just puts up good games with smart play the whole way through, I would be beyond happy as a player and a viewer of those matches.
And B-Step, if they lose this match, it will be them falling below Superstars in standings. And up against Team 8, yes, Team 8 had a rough first week, but it was Tempo Storm and Gale Force, who we've seen now be scary, formidable opponents. So we'll have to see. I cannot wait for tomorrow. We are going to be done for today. I'm sad to say, but it's not too long until we have more HGC coming at you. Thank you so much for joining us. If you want to see any VODs, you can find them on our website, playheroes.com/esports. Good night.
It's a whole new era for Heroes of the Storm, and we've got a lot to talk about. In this video, we'll discuss updates to the progression system, introduce loot chests, discuss in-game currencies, both new and old, walk you through a new collection system, and loadouts. Hold on to your mouse